What is gun control and the Second Amendment in America? Peter Squires, a professor of criminology and public policy at the University of Brighton, defines gun control as the regulation of both the legal and the illegal markets in firearms. In America, of course, it is the legal availability of guns that is the most disputed. The Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States says, a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. This fundamental belief in the right of the American people to own guns, rooted in the history of the county, is the basis of the massive volume of firearms owned by civilians in the country, Mr. Squires told Express.co.uk. The Americans have this whole mythical cowboy culture that firepower is the way the West was won. Firearms are an indispensable part of American history. The whole idea of gun ownership is as American as apple pie. The most recent deadly mass shooting to hit headlines occurred in Texas on Friday, May 18th, when a 17-year-old boy stormed into his Santa Fe high school and shot dead 10 people, 8 of whom were children. At the time of writing, there have been 377 incidents of gun violence reported across the United States in the last 72 hours alone, resulting in 65 deaths and 157 injuries. Getty, March 2018 to 7,000 shoes at the U.S. Capitol building for 7,000 children killed by guns since Sandy Hook. This data, reported by gunviolencearchive.org, becomes more frightening the wider you cast the net. As you can see from the map below, the red dots indicate gun incidents in 2018 alone. 2018 has seen a total of 23,002 gun violence incidents, with 5,678. 1,029 of these were teenagers between the age of 12 and 17. After Sandy Hook, the horrific school shooting in December 2012 in which 26 people, mostly children aged 6 or 7, were shot dead, the president of the National Rifle Association said that the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. This attitude has led retailers to a bid to increase firearms sales dramatically across the states, away from the demographic of those who already have guns, largely middle-aged, white, middle-class suburban men, particularly those who've served in the military, and are now marketing towards women and children, in an attempt to catch them early, said Mr. Squires. Assault rifles, what are now being marketed to civilians as being bigger, better, more accurate, more powerful, more bullets. And it's these kinds of guns that are being used in most of the recent mass shootings. Getty, anti-gun protests across the U.S. have garnered massive support in recent months. In fact, Google data shows that searches for the AR-15 assault rifle have increased steadily since 2004, with a dramatic peak in December 2012, right after the Sandy Hook shooting. As Mr. Squires points out, the whole good guy, bad guy argument is very oversimplified. Most people who are shot by firearms in America are shot by someone they know. The idea that there's an obvious bad guy and an obvious good guy, it's not that simple, he said. Indeed, the perpetrator of the Texas shooting last week was a student at the school, as was the Sandy Hook shooter, who also shot and killed his mother before the carnage at his old elementary school. Getty, the UK has a very low rate of gun crime, with some of the lowest figures anywhere in the world. What about gun violence in Britain? Generally, the UK has a very low rate of gun crime, with some of the lowest figures anywhere in the world. However, Mr. Squires points out that the UK saw a period from 2003, where gun crime dropped by about 55%, indicating we were doing something right. But with policy cuts and austerity of the past few years, the numbers are starting to creep up again. We've seen an increase in all sorts of youth violence and gang activity, and I think that the 20% increase in gun crime in the past year is directly attributable to the police not doing the kind of things they'd been doing well for a while, Mr. Squires said. 2018 has seen a total of 23,002 gun violence incidents, with 5,678 deaths. So do the British public need to worry? Are we heading for our own gun control debates? Mr. Squires thinks not. Gun violence amounts to less than 1/3% of all recorded crime, so in terms of the scale, I don't think we need to worry. Of course, the knife crime epidemic on London streets is cause for concerns, and, as in the States, these trends expose deep rifts within societies. Young people are being sucked into gang culture because they aren't being given, or finding other opportunities, said Mr. Squires.